Hello and welcome to the 741 channel. Thank you for stopping by. Today is field day, and this year I'm going to do something a little bit different. Usually for field day I go and participate with the club that I belong to. Now, having said that, I am going to miss hanging out with the club. They do a great job at field day. It's a nice relaxed event usually, because I want to participate with some guys that don't belong to my club. There are a group of guys here kind of in the local area that talk on the local repeaters, and they have sort of a informal club. And some of these guys have really never participated in field day before, so I thought it might be fun to kind of hang around with them in a spot a little closer to home this year and just make a few contacts, kind of casually see what we can do. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up at Schnipsit State Forest, which is only about 10 minutes away from me. And in particular, we're going to set up at the top of Soapstone Mountain. Now, Soapstone Mountain, by most measures, really isn't a mountain, but here in sort of the eastern or central Connecticut area, it's one of the higher publicly accessible locations that we can get to. I think the elevation is about 1,090 feet or something like that. The antenna that we're going to be using is my G5RV that I've put up on field day in the past with my club, and it works well. I've made many contacts on that. So for radios, I think we're going to start off using my friend John's FT891. Now, unfortunately, John's got to leave fairly early, maybe only about an hour into the event, and I want to stay up there just a little bit longer than that. So once he leaves, I'm probably going to switch over to my Elecraft K3. Now, my Elecraft is only a 10-watt model, so I'll be running definitely QRP at that point, but it'll at least keep me on the air for another hour or two until I have to leave. So anyway, having said all that, let's head on over to the field day site and see if we can get in some trouble. So before we get started with field day setup, here's a few snapshots from the top of Soapstone Mountain. First off, you can see there is an old observation tower here. I think this was actually a fire lookout tower. This one is maybe the third or fourth iteration of the fire tower that was up here. And in fact, this one was just rebuilt last year, so it's almost brand new at this point. The view that you see in this picture is looking sort of northwest. The city of Springfield, Massachusetts is down there in the valley, and way off in the distance, I'm not sure if it's real visible in this picture or not, but we can see the top of Mount Greylock, which is the highest point in Massachusetts. And on a clear day, you can even see the peak of Mount Ascutney in Vermont and Mount Monadnock in New Hampshire. Just behind the old fire tower is an old radar tower. I believe this was used for the weather radar back in the 70s and 80s and is no longer in use, but the tower is still there. In fact, the original building that was up here was demolished and a smaller building was put in its place, and now that houses all of the Connecticut State Police radio equipment that's used up here on Soapstone Mountain. So anyway, having said all that, let's get on with the field day setup. So I'm up here at the field day site. I'm the first one to arrive. I expect my friend John here any minute, and I think this is where we're going to set up. I can't get my car in any further than this. Okay, so here's a look at where I'm going to put the antenna. The center of it is right about where the picnic table is, and one leg goes off that way, and one leg will go off that way, and we should be able to find some branches here to put it up in. And then I've got about 50 feet of coax that'll run over there close to that clearing. So we have the antenna up. The center isn't quite as high as I thought we could get it. We got hung up on one of the branches over there, but it's good enough. I didn't show it in the beginning because there was just too much going on. But the way that I got the antenna up in the air was to tie some of this string to the end of the wrench here, and I just threw it up as high as I could and got it over a branch of a tree, and we were good to go. We've got the operating position over there. We're going to start off in the back of John's car. Okay, so at this point I need to interrupt the video and explain a few things. The first thing is that this event is something that John and I kind of put together at the last minute. We mentioned it on the local repeater, and we thought maybe 5 or 6 guys would show up in passing. Well, we ended up getting about a dozen guys, and they all kind of came right at the beginning of the event. So at that point, I was kind of overwhelmed with trying to meet some people I hadn't met before and just kind of keep everything going, and I completely forgot to turn the camera on. That's probably just as well, because we struggled with John's radio that we used for the first hour and a half of the event. There was just a problem with the radio, and we couldn't really make any contacts on it. So we found once we switched over to my Elecraft that we were able to make some contacts, but because I was running QRP, it was still a bit of a struggle. So after the crowd dissipated, the only people left were me, my sister, and my brother-in-law, and all three of us are hams. But my sister and brother-in-law aren't that familiar with HF, so they wanted to hang around and do a little bit more operating. So we set up the Elecraft using my car as the power source, tuned over to 80 meters, and as you'll see, we did pretty well with it. Okay, so we had quite a crew here for a while. Things got kind of hectic, so I didn't do any filming. It ended up we only made a few contacts so far. It turns out that John's radio was not working right. There was something wrong with the radio and the audio was all distorted, so we weren't able to make any contacts. But I now have my Elecraft hooked up to my car. This is only 10 watts, but I've made a few contacts and there's a few stragglers left, so we're going to try and make a few more here. November 1, November Uniform Golf. November 1, November Uniform Golf. QSL, QSL, please copy 1 Alpha Charlie Tango, 1 Alpha Charlie Tango. Awesome, thanks. 7-3. November 1, November Uniform Golf. November 1, November Uniform Golf. Nancy 1, Nancy, United Germany.
Got it. November 1, Nancy, Germany. Thank you. I am a 3 Alpha station, 3 Alpha, November, Lima, India.
QSL, please copy 1 Alpha Charlie Tango, 1 Alpha Connecticut.
I didn't copy your information. I'm sorry. A lot of noise.
1 Alpha Connecticut, 1 Alpha Charlie Tango, 1 Alpha Charlie Tango. QSL?
1 Alpha, Charlie Tango.
QSL, QSL, you got it.
Okay, nice. Thanks a lot. Stand by 1 second. November 1 station, please make your call. November 1.
November 1, November Uniform Golf.
Okay, November 1, November Uniform Golf. Nice call. Please copy 3 Alpha, Nancy, Juliet.
QSL, got your 3 Alpha NNJ. Please copy 1 Alpha Charlie Tango.
Thank you for the Charlie Tango, my friend 73. It's QRZ. This is W2 LQRZ Field Day from Kilo Alpha 1 Victoria Mike Golf.
N1 NUG, November 1, November Uniform Golf.
Okay, the YL.
That's you. Say it again.
November 1, November Uniform Golf.
November 1, November Uniform Golf. Please copy 1 Delta Charlie Tango. Over.
1 Alpha Charlie Tango. Yeah.
1 Alpha Charlie Tango.
And your report?
Say it again. 1 Alpha Charlie Tango.
1 Alpha Charlie Tango.
Roger, the 1 Alpha Tango. Double 1 Victoria Mike Golf.
You did it.
I was confused. That's right. We're at 1 Alpha Connecticut. Yeah, I was forgetting. That's right. They want our section was 1 Alpha, 1 station, Connecticut, Charlie Tango. It took me a minute. I'm thinking, what's Charlie Tango for? I'm not used to the phonetic stuff. I always have to think about it too much. N1 NUG.
N1 NUG, K2CC, 3 Alpha Eastern New York.
1 Alpha Connecticut.
1 Alpha Connecticut. 1 Alpha Charlie Tango.
Roger, 1 Alpha Connecticut, thank you. QRZ from Q1 Charlie Tango.
Getting the hang of it.
N1 NUG.
N1 NUG from N1EM.
1 Alpha Charlie Tango.
1 Alpha Charlie Tango. 1 Alpha Connecticut.
Copy 1 Alpha Charlie Tango. We are 4 Foxtrot. That's 4 Foxtrot, Eastern Mass. And Echo Mike Alpha, over.
QSL and thanks.
QSL and thanks.
Thanks for the contact, and welcome to the hobby.
Why are you sitting? You try it. After they say this.
CQ Field Day, CQ Field Day. This is Whiskey 2 Golf Sierra Alpha Field Day.
N1 NUG.
NOR station, call again.
N1 NUG.
N1 UG, this is Whiskey 2 Golf Sierra Alpha. Our class is 2 Alpha, section November Juliet.
1 Alpha Charlie Tango.
1 Alpha Charlie Tango.
Thank you. Can I get your call again?
That's N1 NUG.
November 1, November Uniform Golf.
November 1 November Uniform Golf.
I have November 1, November Uniform Golf.
QSL.
QSL.
QSL, thank you.
CQ Field Day, CQ Field Day. November 1, November Uniform Golf, N1 NUG, CQ Field Day.
November Yankee 2 United.
Go ahead. Say his call. November Yankee 2 United.
November Yankee 2 United.
Roger, November Yankee 2 United. We are 4 Alpha, Eastern New York. QSL.
QSL.
QSL 1 Alpha CT 1 Alpha Charlie Tango.
Roger, thank you.
73 QRZ.
73 QRZ.
CQ Field Day, CQ Field Day, CQ Field Day. November 1, November Uniform Golf. November 1, November Uniform Golf. Field Day.
Station call Field Day. I didn't get your call, but I'll give you my Whiskey 2 Golf Sierra Bravo. You copy Whiskey 2 Golf Sierra Bravo.
Gotcha, Whiskey 2 Golf Sierra Bravo. This is November 1, November Uniform Golf. 1 Alpha Charlie Tango.
Okay, I got November 1, November Uniform Golf. And what is your class and section?
1 Alpha Charlie Tango, 1 Alpha Connecticut. What's yours?
Today. Looking for eyelids, tail lids, head lids.
What?
Okay, November 1, November Uniform Golf. I got other station at top coming in. I'll give you my information. 6 Fox November Lima, India. I just need your class and section, please.
Class and section is 1 Alpha Charlie Tango, 1 Alpha Charlie Tango. Please repeat your information.
Sure. 6 Foxtrot, November Lima, India. 6 Foxtrot, November Lima, India. Thank you. Who the hell is that?
Got the 6 Foxtrot NLI. Thank you very much. And QRZ, November 1, November Uniform Golf.
CQ Lit Day. This frequency is just for Field Day. If you want to do Field Day, come on in. Yeah, I don't hear a thing either. It's pretty quiet here. I've got the squelch set up to, I don't hear the signal unless they're S9 plus 200 dB.
So here's an example of some really good hams right here. Can I have your call signs, please? You're on YouTube. So we started taking the antenna down here already. Just going to pull it down out of the tree the rest of the way and roll it up. So here's the other end of the antenna. I'm going to pull it out of this tree. I don't know if you guys can even see it up there, but time to bring it down. Okay, so that's pretty much going to wrap things up for Field Day 2019. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to leave a comment or subscribe, feel free to do that as well. And if you'd like to support my channel in another way, please consider visiting my Amazon store, which you'll find linked in the description below. Thanks for watching.